I do. Things get better with time. Yet souls never untie. It's a haiku. These thoughts never can die. These tears never gonna dry when I lose you. Some hearts double inside. Your short head grow inch line with the Grinch do. I don't have time cause the race do. Factor in lies that are birth fruit. On the way up, slugfest.
Welcome back to the Monday Evening Football Daily Show. Today is October 12th. We're happy to be here with you again today. After, a pretty good stream yesterday. A lot of news going around the NFL. Some things shaking and bopping as, we continue to week 6. Obviously, we got tomorrow's game, the Thursday night football game between the Bears and the Commanders, which will be, I don't know if I would say a fun one to watch. But nevertheless, it is football, and this is the time of year that everyone lives for. So, we are going to be tuning into that game. It's going to be on Amazon Prime, obviously. And, I don't know if you know this, but Amazon's Thursday night pregame show is going to show someone who did recently have a little run-in with the law. Amazon did come out and say that Marshawn Lynch is going to be part of the couple minutes in their pregame show. Amazon has stood by Marshawn Lynch through his DUI. He was already under contract, so it's not like they're bringing him in. But something that Amazon is doing that I kind of like is they're standing by the people that make them great. They're standing by, Marshawn Lynch, who obviously he made a mistake. Shouldn't have been drinking and driving. Everyone knows that. He's got enough money. Call an Uber, my man. We got the services. We don't need that. You see guys like Henry Ruggs, make those mistakes, and it costs people their life. So definitely don't want to see that. But Amazon believes that he's working through that, and they're helping him along the way. And they haven't turned their back on him, which I think is something in today's age that we do need a little more of, because when people make mistakes, there's a big tendency, to turn their back on them. And I don't know if that's the most positive, the most helpful thing in the world. But getting back to football, Jordan Davis is PFF's highest graded rookie defensive line through week 5. He's obviously the Philadelphia Eagles defensive lineman, and he's currently leading all rookie interior defensive linemen in tackles and pressures. And there is a video of him circling around the internet, and it looks like it was after the Philadelphia Eagles game, and him and a teammate, they were singing. He's got some pipes, to go along with that football skill. So it looks like it's going to work out for him in the football world. But for some reason, if it didn't, I think maybe American Idol, if that show was still around, he'd have a real good shot at, becoming the next big thing. Or, he could take his talents over to YouTube or TikTok and just start singing there and kind of grow his singing career if he wanted to. But I think he's focused quite a bit on being one of the best defensive linemen for the Philadelphia Eagles. And that's saying a lot because they've had a lot of great defensive linemen come through that team. So, but good to see Jordan Davis coming in, making an impact, starting to connect the dots a little bit on why the Eagles are so good. When you have a defensive lineman that's, leading all rookies in tackles and pressures, that's going to help your defense out a ton. What doesn't help people, though, I will say this. What doesn't help people, though, is when you do get in trouble, is kind of shifting that blame to someone else. It's just never been a great tactic. And that is kind of what Brett Favre is doing with this whole, this whole wrongdoing in this, he denied the wrongdoing in the welfare case. He said, it wasn't me. This is a smear campaign put on by the media, which, you know what, Brett, I might have the inclination to believe you, but there's text messages, my guy. Like, it is all out there. So, you kind of made your bed, and now you got to lie in it. And to be honest, you're trying to shift the blame to the media, to someone else, not yourself. That level of unaccountability is not something I look for in a quarterback or an ex-quarterback at that matter. And it's kind of come to see that everything, we kind of thought Brett Favre was, he's a little entitled. And you know what? It's tough to see. You know what else is tough to see? Went up to Lambeau a couple weeks ago, watched the Packers with some friends. Man, the amount of Brett Favre jerseys being worn around that stadium, it's a little tone deaf, if you ask me. A little tone deaf. I would love to see maybe a little more Bart Starr jerseys, maybe the Magic Man, or even Vince Young. He played there for a little bit. Get a Vince Young jersey. We don't need no more Brett Favre jerseys. Or get a number 4 jersey with your own last name on it. I'll live with that. But a little tone deaf, and unfortunately most of the Packers fans are going to be like, no, it is a media smear campaign, which, not great. But hopefully you tuned into this show and you're like, oh, no, he was. I mean, it's, if you look at it, it is pretty clear. Pretty open and shut case, but you know what? We'll let the people in charge of handling that scandal, run that, and, with the convictions and stuff like that, will be what they are. But staying in the same line with the Packers, Davante Adams has been banned. He has been banned. Davante Adams has been banned from the Worlds of Fun amusement park in Kansas City for what he did to that cameraman. And I know what you're thinking. How is Davante Adams ever going to live with himself after not being able to go to the Worlds of Fun? I don't know if he's ever gone to the Worlds of Fun, but the Worlds of Fun definitely came out and tweeted and says he has been permanently banned because he's just he's too dangerous and maybe too good at football. But they definitely were just capitalizing on a marketing opportunity. Hey, I'm a marketing guy myself. I probably would have done the same thing because really, he'll probably maybe once in his life, I'd love to see him just go. But I think he probably never had any desire to go to the Worlds of Fun in Kansas City anyway. So kind of a moot point, but definitely a good opportunity, and kind of got a chuckle when I saw that this morning. Thought you guys would too, but Davante Adams definitely probably facing some fines, maybe a suspension for pushing that cameraman. Obviously, frustration getting the best of him, probably because he's playing with a team that, had a chance to tie the game up, and they screwed the pooch. So frustration getting the best of Davante Adams. He's probably thinking over his decision to go to Oakland, but he's still a stud player. He's still making an impact for the team. I hope Davante, learns from this situation. And Davante's the type of guy that I think he realized right after he did it that I probably shouldn't have done that. Definitely a smart guy in that regard, but just letting the emotions get the best of him on Monday night, which is not great. Not great. I had an old coach that always says you want to play with enthusiasm, not emotion. Enthusiasm is positive. Emotion can be negative if it gets the best of you. So, we will see what happens with Davante probably in the next coming days here, see if there's any action taken against him by the NFL. But speaking of the NFL, we just had the London game with the Packers. The NFL is also looking to grow its international game a little more. I think they're taking a page out of the NBA's book, where the NBA has now become a worldwide sport. And why wouldn't it be? Because it's a great game, but the NBA has fostered that culture of, hey, let's get more countries involved in basketball. And you see now that a ton of the stars in the NBA are coming from, around the world. There's being recruited a lot more, and the NFL is looking to grow their international game by getting a little more involved in Africa, of all places, which is great to see. They have, I think it was about 83 players that are currently in the NFL that have come from Africa. And Africa really doesn't have any football culture over there as far as the NFL goes. But they're starting to put on some camps. They put on some camps in Ghana. And they're looking to grow the game there. As of right now, there's no game slotted for Africa. But I think that would be pretty awesome to see, is the NFL, maybe put one game over in Africa. Because why not? Why not? Let's grow the game. get more people involved, it only makes the game better. And it does seem like the NFL wants to put a team in London, or maybe, a division in London. So if they do that, I think that just sets the gateway to get a few more continents and countries involved in American football, which is exciting to see because we will only get better players, better talent, more games. Because right now, the way I see it, and Roger, take notes of this. I know you're watching. That's Roger Goodell for any of those at home. But the NFL currently right now, they are in a content deficit. And they're not going to add more games because obviously the safety of the players doesn't allow for that. But they are currently in a content deficit, and they need to solve that problem because people want football. People want a ton of football. They want to get inundated. That's why fantasy football has taken off, because with fantasy football, there becomes more content around the game of football, the game of the NFL. Now with sports betting, you're starting to see shows come around sports betting for the NFL, and it just creates more content. What we do with Monday Evening Football live stream broadcast is create more content, create an additional avenue for fans to enjoy the game by, maybe someone who isn't Troy Aikman or Joe Buck. I personally like him, but, some people either not a Cowboys fan or just hate Joe Buck for some reason. I don't get it, but that is where it is. So super exciting to see the NFL looking to grow a little more internationally and get involved in Africa, because I could see, as we build the game, push it out to other countries and continents, you're going to see a lot more influence, and you'll probably see the game change just because these different continents and countries have different perspectives. They're going to learn the game a little different, and you will see the game evolve and elevate after, it started to take a little bit of decline after last week with those roughing the passer calls. But anyways, as disastrous as those roughing the passer calls were, Mike Tomlin came out and said he's taking full accountability for the disaster that the Steelers put out there on Sunday. He said that, when you're as bad as you were in all three phases of the game, that falls on one person's shoulder and one person's shoulder alone. I think Brett Favre can take a note from Mike Tomlin on accountability here. You got to love to see that. I mean, Mike Tomlin, great coach, one of the best coaches of all time. And he's got to take accountability for the performance they put up against the Buffalo Bills. Now, it's the Buffalo Bills, very good team, but you still like to see that. It doesn't take away the accountabilities that the players have, but it does take some of that weight off their shoulders so they can just get back and focus on football. It's a nice thing when you have your head coach saying, "Hey, all around we were not ready." And that's on me. That's not on the, it's a little bit on the guys, but not really. It's on me. We got to get better. We got to have a more, more solutions. That's what he said. He said we got to have more solutions. There's enough blame to go around, but we need to be solution oriented. And I think that's the right attitude to have. And maybe, Mike, you got Najee Harris, but there has been talks of maybe Christian McCaffrey being on the trading block. So, because obviously, if we tuned into yesterday's episode, you saw that we talked about Matt Rule getting fired and, Steve Wilks, I think Steve Wilks, right? I hope I said that right. Coach Wilks is looking to, kind of create a new culture there. And that could potentially be getting Christian McCaffrey out of Carolina. And there's a couple landing spots for Christian McCaffrey, which I think would be interesting. Coming in at number 6 is the Commanders. Obviously, Antonio Gibson is the top back this year. Haven't been fully comfortable with them. But maybe if you have a guy like, Christian McCaffrey on the Commanders, maybe that run game becomes a little better. Helps out Carson Wentz. But, you've seen Carson Wentz with a great running back. So, I don't know if it's tough to say. I don't want to pile on Carson Wentz because everyone does that, but it's tough to say. But I do think those two could be a good tandem, and I think they could work well. Obviously, Eagles would be a pretty good addition. Would put a dent in Miles Sanders' workload, but, put McCaffrey lined up to Jalen Hurts. Man, is that a 1-2 punch of running power right there. Running power. Obviously, the 49ers is another team. with Elijah Mitchell still sidelined, McCaffrey and Jimmy G probably become best of friends because, they would work well together. And obviously, you got the Broncos, the Rams are another team, Cam Akers not really getting the job done. Darrell Henderson is making some noise on the ground. But you got to think that maybe Christian McCaffrey would be a little better than those two guys. Now, the other thing, too, is Christian McCaffrey's been through some injuries, getting a little older now, and that lifespan of the running back, obviously, we know is not very long. So, just some things to consider. And then, obviously, the number one spot, according to CBS Sports, would be the Buffalo Bills. And, I mean, kind of hard not to say he wouldn't fit in. And Josh Allen would probably use the mess out of him. And that would just make the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they're probably already, I guarantee you, they're already the favorite to win the NFL, to win the Super Bowl. You put Christian McCaffrey on that team, and it might look a little better. It might look like the lock of the year, potentially. But, it's all rumors at this point. So, that being said, we gotta see what happens there. And you know what? Odds are these rumor mills, they start up and nothing ever happens with them. So we could very well see Christian McCaffrey be with the Carolina Panthers at the end of the season. So I don't know if that makes Carolina Panthers happy or not. The fans, at least. But we will see. We'll see how the season unfolds. Obviously, the Carolina Panthers are in a little bit of a rebuild mode now. So, I know it's not something they're probably excited about. But speaking of excitement and lack thereof, the Chargers are not happy with Brandon Staley after the fourth down decision. And this is, a couple guys, but, the fans specifically, it's 4th and 2. You could punt the ball, you could run the ball, but him going on it for 4th and 2 on his own 45 pretty much costed him the game. And it's just tough to see because, I think these analytics are getting in the way of, teams winning games. And at the end of the year, it's not, hey, we need to make a play here. It's like, no, you need to win football games. You need to get yourself to the playoffs. And these analytics, from what I've been seeing, is mismanaged clocks. And maybe the game is changing and us fans just haven't caught up yet. But it doesn't seem like it. It just seems like some bonehead plays. And then you have guys getting banned from World of Fun because, they're upset with the coach's decision. And they should have either tied and went into overtime and had a chance to win the game, or, got a first down or kicked the ball and then had your defense stop them. But it's not great for the Chargers fans. And I got to understand. I imagine, at first you saw Brandon Staley going for it on 4th down. And you're like, hey, this is kind of cool. This is, a new thing that, could possibly work. And it's you kind of understood at the beginning, hey, we got 4 downs. Let's see what we can do. 4 downs, let's do it. And let's not punt. Obviously, you saw Pat McAfee come out and say, hey, you're screwing my brand here, pretty much. I'm for the brand. You seem like you're a guy that's not for the brand. And now I think you're starting to see the fan base hop on that too, where it's hey, we could have just punted there, and our defense probably would have held them up because there's not a ton of time left on the clock. So it's just interesting to see that these coaches that are coming into head coaching jobs may not, or offensive coordinating jobs or defense coordinating jobs, may not be as prepared and may be leaning a little bit too much on what the analytics say you should do, which could be a potential problem. Now, I think these guys are, they're early enough in their career as a head coach that I think they can hopefully learn from the missed opportunities that are happening out there. But we will have to see, and we'll have to see how the analytics game grows. But, a lot of good stuff happening in the NFL. Love that they are, trying to expand the game into Africa. I love that, you have veteran coaches like Mike Tomlin taking full accountability of, bad play. And then you have young guys like Jordan Davis coming into the league and just being an absolute monster and the highest grade rookie defensive lineman through week 5, So there's some good stuff going around the league, some not so great stuff affecting the league. And, tune in tomorrow to see what more news we have for you. And, hey, if you're not doing anything, the Pat McAfee Show starts in about 9 minutes. Definitely go ahead, tune on over to them. Pat does a great job. The boys do a great job. AJ Hawk, he does an okay job. And, no, I'm kidding. AJ's great. No, he does a good job. So definitely go on over, check Pat McAfee Show out. Tune in tomorrow, same time, 10:30 a.m. We're the unofficial Pat McAfee pre-show, and that's just how we gonna roll, baby. All right, thank you. We are out. You all have a great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow.